Hi friends. So I never did the queer YouTuber rite of passage of uploading an emotional coming out video. Instead, I just kind of quietly upended my life for 5 years and never talked about it. And then I was just out to the internet with no end and no beginning. But as anyone who's ever come out knows, you come out dozens, if not hundreds of times in your life. You're never done. I mean, I wasn't. Not when I went to VidCon back when they used to have exactly 3 diversity panels, one for people of color, one for women, and one for LGBTQ plus people. And so I went to the LGBTQ plus one because I was like, I shouldn't just ignore the one marginalized identity that I don't belong to, and then sat in the audience like, oh shit. I wasn't done after I dropped enough hints to my partner at the time that after watching a Tig Notaro Netflix special with him, he turned as the credits rolled and said, hey, do you think that you might be gay? I wasn't done when my brother was texting me about the cool new blogging platform he'd joined called Tumblr, and I sent him a link to my blog and then immediately was like, wait, so you might see some posts about bisexuality on there, and that's because I'm bisexual. And he texted back like, okay, whatever, cool. I never felt like I would be done until I could tell my parents. And that was gonna take some doing. When I moved to Seattle, I was freelancing from home and didn't have any friends there, so I was mostly alone. And Lord, did I feel it. I didn't see anyone or talk to anyone except for my partner who I moved there with, and he was out of the house going to school all day. And so I started down a depression spiral made even more isolated by the fact that I was harboring this secret, and that to tell anyone that secret would blow up my entire life. Thankfully, when it got really dark, I Googled LGBTQ plus therapist Seattle and found a really friendly looking woman a few blocks away who was accepting new patients. And I started seeing her every week. In our very first session, I told her I was bi and started sobbing because that was the first time I'd said it out loud to anyone. And so she and I started crafting a plan for me to tell the important people in my life, including my parents. We'd rehearse the conversation in our office, and every week I would call my parents, and every week I would chicken out and just talk about how our weeks went. This went on for almost a year, even after I left the guy and moved to Nevada for a new job. I had my weekly session with my therapist over Skype this time, and she told me, maybe you'll never totally feel ready. Maybe there's no time that's gonna feel like the right time. And so if you wanna come out, you may just have to take a deep breath and do it. And so the next day, I called my parents from my mattress on the floor in Nevada, and I asked them to turn on FaceTime. And when they did, I could see that they were in the car, driving to a 4th of July party. And it did not feel like the right time. But I'd psyched myself up to do this, and if I let the moment pass, I might not get up the nerve to tell them for another year. So I said, Mom, Dad, I want to tell you something. And by then I was already crying. I think I'm gay. It was quiet for a moment, and then instead of looking at my parents, I was looking at the ceiling of their car. I heard my dad pulling over and then repeating my mom's name. Michelle? 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 And I didn't know what to do, so I just hung up. After maybe 5 minutes of heavy sobbing on my end and my mom regaining consciousness on hers, my parents called me back. Now, I will say that I come from a family of nervous fainters. Even when I was younger, I'd be getting lectured for something I did wrong, and I'd just stop breathing without meaning to until my vision went out and my knees turned to jelly. And so when your kid calls you and starts crying saying they have something to tell you, I'm sure my mom was preparing for the worst and did what I do. Stopped breathing. But at the time, I felt like they thought my being queer was the worst, when to me it was actually wonderful news, right? And I also had to backtrack and explain that even though I used the word gay, I actually meant bisexual, but that word sounds so pathological and was also something that they weren't as familiar with, and it might just cause a lot of questions. And they did have a lot of questions that were frustrating in the moment, I think what was the hardest for me is like the whole time I was putting off telling them, I didn't know what I was so afraid of. Because like by all indications, my parents are down with the community, right? My mom's a lawyer and she can marry people and she's performed same-sex weddings. My dad's work sponsors an LGBTQ professionals organization in my hometown, and he's like spoken at their events. I was like, okay, they're not homophobic, they're not gonna disown me. And so I thought I would get one of those heartwarming coming out stories that you see in movies where the parents just say, I love you and I'm proud of you for living your truth and nothing changes between us. And they did eventually say that, but I could tell that they struggled with my coming out. And that was hard for me because I was like, no, I'm struggling. I'm the one who gets to struggle with this, and I need you to just be my mom and dad and just love me and tell me it's gonna be okay, you know? But I think from their perspective, they were processing a change, and from my perspective, nothing about me had changed at all. And so that disconnect was uncomfortable for everyone. And so the reason that I tell this story is because I think we hear a lot of the warm fuzzy kind of coming out, and we also hear the story of like a kid getting kicked out and never speaking to their family again. And we don't, or at least I didn't hear a lot about the thing in between, which is where you come out and it doesn't go the way that you want, but eventually your family comes around. And you have to do some education you might not want to do, and you have to be out to some of your family members but not others, right? Because you're never done coming out. You don't just call your parents or post a video on the internet and then you're free forever. Like, I have family members who don't know, or family members who I've never talked about it with, but they follow me on Instagram, so they've probably figured it out by now. I think a lot about how I can't ever go to my high school or college reunions because having to come out to everybody I haven't seen in 10 years over and over in one night sounds exhausting and frankly fucking terrible. And every new person I meet, I have to figure out how to slip it into conversation. Like, I can reference my girlfriend to coworkers and casual acquaintances, and even then I'm still not properly out as bisexual. Like, just talking about boys that I've dated doesn't mean I'm straight. And I knew that all of this would happen. I just never expected that it's never one and done, even if you do have a big talk. I still have conversations with my parents where they want to know who else they should or shouldn't tell, or how to refer to my girlfriend, or what does this thing mean, what's the right word for that. I'm still unpacking my identity for them 3 years later, and we're not done yet. Even with all of that, coming out has been infinitely better than feeling so fucking trapped and lonely inside of an inherent part of me that I couldn't tell anyone about. Every time I tell someone new that I'm bisexual, it feels a little bit scary, but also a little bit more like I can love myself. So hi, I'm bi. How are you? In comments, tell me about a part of your identity that's really important to you. I'm telling stories about LGBTQ+ experiences all throughout Pride Month, so hit the bell if you don't want to miss any. And if you want to support this queer creator, you can head to my Patreon where you'll find perks like newsletters, exclusive writing, playlists, postcards, and you can also help me make more of these videos. I'll see you soon. Bye.